and mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chill Will Radio. Welcome to another episode of Chill Will Radio, man. It feels very, very, very good to be back up here in the studio in the station today, man. It just feels good to be here, in all honesty, man. I've had a very, very great week, a very, very relaxing week, a very, very fun week. This week was spectacular, man, spectacular. So, quick little tidbit on what we're speaking about today, man. Anxiety, pushing through anxiety, because that's the one and only true way to get through your anxiety. We got to push through it. We can't go around it. We can't figure out some type of fake way or fake method to deal with it. We got to actually push through it. So that's what we'll get into. But first and foremost, to everyone that's listening, good looking. To everyone that will be listening but haven't tuned in just yet because they got some other stuff going on, good looking. To everyone that won't be listening at all just because they haven't caught on yet, good looking. But I also can't forget about those folks who will be tuning in tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, next week, next year, whenever you hear this. Thank you for listening and tuning in to Chill World Radio here at the Good News Radio Station. Man, here we're talking about mental health within the black community. All things mental health, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the truth, the taboo things, the things we don't want to touch, the things we are supposed to touch. Sometimes it may get a little bit emotional. Sometimes it may get a little bit funny. We're going to do what we got to do to speak about this topic because this is something that we need to speak about. So, how am I doing? How was my week? Man, oh man, my man. My week was actually very, very good. Solely because this is the 1 week that I actually literally did not do anything. Well, I went out on like a little miniature vacation or whatever, but this week was good, right? So the way I operate is all of my jobs are per diem, so I create my schedule. So that allows me to be able to work literally every single day, right? So between both of my jobs, and it's crazy because I'm finna add on 2 more jobs. Well, between both of my jobs, I literally work every day, right? So I work every day. I work every day for a month, but I give myself at least 1 week within every month to just not do nothing, right? So within that week, I may go somewhere. I always try to go somewhere. I may sit down. I may not do nothing. I'm not even going to try to look at Instagram. I'm not really going to do much with Instagram. I'm not really going to do much when it comes to this radio show. I'm not really going to do much when it comes to work. I'm not really going to do much when it comes to like my goals. I'm just really going to sit down and do nothing. That's my week to actually chill. That's my week to actually bring myself back into reality, because when you're working 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes even 30 days straight like I've done in the past, man, that shit could get tiring. That shit could get tiring for real. So what you have to do is you have to always put yourself in a position to where you could take a break. Put yourself in a position to where you could take a break. Some people need every weekend, some people need all of that stuff. Me, I just need at least 3 or 4 days within the month, and I need those days consecutive. So I just work my ass off that whole month, and then take that break. And I don't want to hear from no coworkers. I don't want to hear anything about any radio show. I don't want to hear anything about any of my goals. I just want to sit back, reset, and just go have fun and go do something. Man, last month when I did this, I went up to a cabin up in the mountains and just got away. This week, I actually literally just got back in town like around 12 this afternoon. I was in San Diego. 12 this afternoon, but as soon as I got back in town, I went to like a little spa. I had this is the first time I ever got a massage in my life. Ever. Like, if anybody knows me, I am extremely ticklish, right? I don't even like when people poke me, but this is the first time I got a massage. That shit was dope. I was in like a little steam room or whatnot, man. But before that, I was in San Diego, chilled up in San Diego for a good 2 days. I went skydiving. That shit was fucking ridiculous. I went skydiving. That shit was fucking ridiculous. I'll talk more into that later. And what else? The day before that, I went to this place called Speed Zone. It's like an amusement park for go-karts. That shit is really dope as well. So, yeah, do what you got to do to take care of yourself, man. A lot of people get on my head about, I work too much. You work too hard. You work every day, blah, blah, blah. Nah, I just do what's best for me, right? So when it comes to you and how you're going to live your life and how you're going to take your breaks and how you're going to do all of these things, remember, you got to do what's best for you. Do what is best for you. Don't do what is best for somebody else or for the next person. No, do what's best for you. And then when you take that time out to sit back, when you take that little small vacation, when you just get away from the world, make sure you're actually getting away from the world. Don't just leave your job and then still check up on stuff, right? Don't half-ass it. No, you owe yourself that much to get away from everybody. Whether it's people on Instagram, the annoying family members, sometimes the annoying girlfriend, right? The annoying coworkers, whatever it is, do what you have to do. Just step off and get away and just reset your system. And then when you're in that mode of resetting your system, when you're in that space, literally empty everything out. Everything out. A few episodes ago, I was speaking about how we need to make sure we always delete and always clean out, our Instagram and the people within our circle and all of these things, right? Because sometimes what we don't understand is they can, by accident, those toxic people can kind of sneak up in your stuff, right? By accident, those toxic people can kind of sneak up in your stuff. You could, realize you're tapping the wrong things on Instagram. You could realize that you're letting the wrong people in. You could realize your boundaries are getting a little bit looser. People are starting to cross them a little bit more, So during that time, reset. And when you're resetting, make sure nothing is around. So I did that for me this week. That shit was fabulous. But it's Sunday, tomorrow's Monday. Back to the regularly old scheduled programming. I'll be waking up at 3:30 to go work out. 3:30 in the morning to go work out. Then I'll probably go work out again later in the afternoon. I'm doing a lot. But hey, I'm back. I'm glad to be back. So, perfect segue. As always, man, if you're tuning in, make sure you get up in that chat room, chat box with that, whatever that is called. Get up in that, just let me know you're present, man. I always like to acknowledge those individuals who are here. You ain't got to say much, just say what's good, what's the deal, what's popping. But even still, if you don't choose to say nothing, man, good looking for tuning in, man. So tuning in, changing into the self-care piece, man. Moving right along into the self-care piece, man. One of the things I want to speak to you all about and the importance of, challenging your negative thoughts, right? We sometimes get too negative and we do not even challenge them, right? We just kind of accept those thoughts for what they are, right? We don't make it a conscious effort every single time we come up with negative thoughts to challenge them, right? We got to challenge them. Make sure we understand that those negative thoughts aren't real, first of all, and those negative thoughts aren't your thoughts, right? So one of the things I want to make sure you implement within your self-care regimen every single day, and this is a very, very easy and free self-care thing. Make sure you implement this into your self-care regimen every single day. Challenge those negative thoughts that you are having. Quick and simple. How could you challenge those negative thoughts? First and foremost, if those thoughts come, ask yourself, are those thoughts true? Are they true? Secondly, are those even your thoughts? Because a lot of the times, other people's negativity can seep into our own mind, right? Can seep into our own consciousness, right? That's why it's very, very important to be mindful of who's in your circle. Be mindful of who's around. Because I think that saying is like, if you're like around five broke people, you're going to be the sixth. That's the same thing when it comes to depression. That's the same thing when it comes to negativity, right? When you're around 5 negative people, you're just going to be that 6th negative person, right? Those negative things that those individuals are saying, that's going to seep into your brain. That's going to seep into your thoughts. That's going to become your thought pattern. Also, when you have somebody who, that other individual may be bruised, so what they're going to do is they're going to take out their their own personal baggage on you by calling you ugly, by calling you fat, by saying you worthless, by saying all of these other things, by saying you should die and all this other stuff, if you hear that over and over and over and over and over and over without challenging those things, those thoughts are soon going to become your thoughts, right? So let's be mindful of what thoughts are coming into our brain, right? Let's be mindful of what people are actually saying around us, right? Which is why it's important to be mindful of who is in your circle, because those negative people will start to say negative things, and you know, energy is real. All of those negative vibes, those negative energy vibes, and all of those negative words and those negative thoughts that the other person is saying, that definitely has the ability to seep, you know, and creep up into your brain. But once they're there, what are you going to do, right? Challenge them, right? If your brain is telling you you can't do this, talk to yourself. There's nothing wrong with talking. Understand this. There's nothing wrong with talking to yourself. You know, as long as it's not causing you to do any harm or anything like that to anybody else. Have these conversations with yourself, right? Having an internal monologue, right? And checking in with yourself is very, very important. So when you have those negative thoughts and the thoughts are saying you ain't shit, tell yourself, yo, thought or whatever, that's a lie. Combat that thought immediately. See, I am something. I am worth something. You know, I am great. I am this. I am that. Whatever negative thought pops into your head, immediately go at it. Because if we don't immediately go at it, what that negative thought is going to do, that negative thought is just going to go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we could habitually, because of our negative thinking habits, we're going to habitually creep into depression, right? We're going to forever believe that we're worthless because that's what we're telling ourselves. Because we've been telling ourselves that over and over and over, but we never give ourselves the ability to actually sit there and challenge those thoughts, right? So when we have them negative thoughts, challenge it. Hey, look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself. I am great. I am this. I am that. I will get this job. You know, I will pay my rent on time. I will become a better person. I will do better in this relationship. You know, I will not fail. I will not be a bad boyfriend or girlfriend. I will not cheat on my girl. I will pass school. I will pass medical school. I will complete all of my goals. I will be rich. I will do all of these things, because what's going to happen is once you start to tell yourself all of these things, not only are you going to believe them, but you're going to start to behave within those thoughts, right? Our thoughts become our behavior. Our behavior becomes our actions, right? Our thoughts becomes our words becomes our behavior, and our behavior becomes our actions. Right? So just how we could habitually think negative, we could habitually think positive, right? That's where these optimistic people come from, and that's where these pessimistic people come from, right? When something goes down, their brain immediately goes to the negative thing. Why? Because they've always been thinking that. There are some people like me, when something goes wrong, I immediately go to the positive thing. What can I learn from it? Right? What can I learn from this situation? Is this situation really that bad? Does this situation really, really matter? You know, how did this situation help me out in the long run? Right? But we have to immediately go to that, right? And that's not to say once you start to build up this regimen of thinking positive all the time, that negative thoughts are immediately going to disappear. No, that is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true, right? Negative thoughts will always be there. Negative thoughts will always be there, but it is on us to challenge those negative thoughts. It is on us to make sure that we tell those negative thoughts that you ain't real. No matter how bad you are, no matter how loud you are not real. You are not shit. You are not going to take over the person who I am and the person who I am trying to be. So when it comes to those negative thoughts, don't let them win. Please do that. Do me a favor and do not let them win. Because if you let them win, they're going to take over you. You're going to fall into this depression. You're going to fall into this anxiety. You're going to fall into suicidal ideations. You're going to fall into homicidal ideations, thinking about harming other people. We're just going to fall into this deep, dark hole. And now we're literally going to be battling our brain. And the one thing about when it comes to battling your brain and battling those thoughts, right, that battle is so hard because your brain knows everything. Your brain knows what happens. Your brain knows how you felt. Your brain knows the truth about everything that you've been through in your life. So your brain knows how to attack you and what angle to take. when you're trying to do something great, brain and your thoughts are going to creep up into you and tell you that one thing that you know that you're not confident in. You know you don't like speaking to people, so why are you running this group? And then you're going to start thinking negative all the time. You're going to be like, what if, all of these what ifs. That's going to cause your anxiety to go up. That's going to cause your hands to get sweaty. You're going to get nervous. You're going to start to forget about where you're at. You're going to start to forget about all of these things because you're focused on those negative thoughts. Understand, a thought is only powerful if we give it power. A thought only means something if we give it something, if we feed it, right? Same thing with a positive thought, right? We have a lot of these positive thoughts, but a lot of these positive thoughts don't mean shit because we don't feed those positive thoughts. But all these negative thoughts are very, very important. Why? Because we feed those negative thoughts, right? We give those negative thoughts power, right? So when it comes to it, how are you going to feed it? We need to starve those negative thoughts. And whenever those negative thoughts come, you need to challenge them all the damn time and feed those negative thoughts with everything. I don't care how much food it is, whatever it is. Feed those negative thoughts. Not negative. Feed those positive thoughts. There we go. Feed those positive thoughts as much as you can, as often as you can, however you like, whichever you like, and understand there is nothing wrong with talking to yourself and telling yourself how powerful and how great you are, because your negative thoughts will tell you how shitty you are, but you have to purposely go into that and tell yourself how great you are. Okay? Cool. So, moving on forward as we move on forward to the main topic of the show, man. I didn't initially plan on having a guest today, but my main man Didier, man, what's going on?
What's up, man? Thanks a lot.
My main man Didier, man. So Didier is one of the it's 3 parts to this show, man. I have 3 people that really help me out. Myself, obviously, Didier, and then my girl. They both come by here every week and record it. And Didier was here. We had a quick little conversation about anxiety. I was like, yo, hop on the mic, man. So, as always, man, I have an open door policy when it comes to my shows. I don't really promote that like that. But as always, whoever's listening, if you're in the LA area and you want to come in and sit on the show, man, you can always do that. But for those individuals who are coming in and sit on the show, what I'm about to start doing, I'm about to start, unmuting some of these mics and putting y'all on it. We're about to start implementing things. I'm about to start implementing a whole lot more people into the show, man, because I could talk about this all day. But it's important that we get people to talk about this, not just a therapist, not just a doctor, not just whatever. Those people, that everyday people. My man Didier who records, my girl right here who records as well. Shoot, Keith. Anybody on the show, anybody on the network, anybody, we need to speak about these things, man. So I have an open door policy to whoever wants to come in and sit in on the show. Hey, come by, man. Also, Didier, another thing I want to plug Didier in, man. So I hate pictures. I hate pictures, man. Didier was one of the first people. Was the first and the only person that ever came up to me like, "What, does she want to do a photo shoot?" I was like, "Hell nah," but he talked me into doing it, man. And I thoroughly loved it, man. So Didier is an excellent photographer. He's starting to do some videography thing, man. I thoroughly thank you for actually coming here every week, and helping me out, my man.
Oh, you're welcome, dude.
Help me out, man. But how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling straight, man. Thanks. Yeah.
You feeling good?
Yeah, a little bit, man.
A little nervous. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. So early on, man, and you looked at me when I said, I jumped out of a plane Friday. Yeah, I jumped out of a plane on Friday, man. Have you ever done that before?
No.
No? Have you ever thought about doing that?
Yeah. When they had that video with Will Smith, he was talking about jumping out of a plane, and I was like, man, I gotta jump out of a plane. And I saw your Instagram, and I saw you jumping out of a plane. I'm like, dude, I gotta jump out of a plane.
What do you think? What do you think is preventing you from doing that? Outside of money.
The consistency, because I'll look at something and be like, they jumped out of a plane, I'm gonna jump out of a plane tomorrow, and then tomorrow something happens, I'll be like, I'll jump out of a plane, some other day.
You easily forget about it.
But
that's all of us, right? We always say, I want to do something. Like we, and that's the thing about motivation, right? We will be motivated for 5 minutes,
Right.
We'll be motivated for 5 minutes until something else catches our attention.
Yeah, because that video or that picture looks so dope, and you just want to be part of it.
dope.
And, yeah, that's me. And then tomorrow comes, and then you're like,
You just forgot about it.
yeah, it was
You never really wanted it, right? So for me, when it came to skydiving, man, that's something I've been telling myself I was going to do for a very, very long time. It's something for a very long time. Actually, I actually was supposed to go skydiving before I went bungee jumping. I've been bungee jumping before too, and so I made it a priority to actually go this time. I went Friday, and sheesh, I actually like skydiving better than I like bungee jumping. But I did not get nervous or my anxiety when it came to skydiving crazy. It didn't hit me like really at all. Even when I was like, the door was open and I was looking outside and I'm just like, yo, I'm finna jump. That didn't even hit me. I think back when I was bungee jumping and it was just like, I jumped 3 times. And each one of those 3 times, you know, when I was on that bridge, because I jumped off of a bridge, I was like, fuck, you know. I was scared. I was nervous. I was anxious. I was like, I had to take a deep breath this time, probably because I had the assistance of someone else who was like on my back, so I felt a little safer. But this time, like, it was the anxiety when it came to it was not that big. And as I was falling through the sky, I'm doing 2 things. I'm focusing on breathing.
Right.
That's the first thing, because when you fall and you got all of this wind hitting your face, it's hard to take in a breath, and it's easy for people to either pass out or have that anxiety attack while they're falling because it's like, I can't breathe. But that's just with anything in life and any other type of anxiety thing, right? We got to remember the only thing that you have control over is your breath. Focus on that. Right? Don't worry about nothing else. Just breathe. So as I'm falling, and if you look at the video, I got like my lips open or whatever. It's because like I'm trying to catch my breath, right? As I'm falling, it's hard. But the other thing is, I start to think about all of this other stuff, right? I start to think about, damn, I'm actually falling. You know, I started thinking about work a little bit. I started thinking about my life. I started thinking about my girl. I started thinking about this show. I just started thinking about other shit. But then I go back and say, all right, remember to breathe. You know, but how that relates to anxiety is what we have to understand is the first part. When it comes to actually jumping off of that plane, you just got to do it, right? Because I could come up with all of these ways to calm myself down, be mindful, make sure I stay present, continue to breathe, and all of these other things. But at the end of the day, you still got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, I still needed to jump off of that plane, right? So when you jump off of that plane, when you go do whatever the hell you got to do, what you also have to understand is in the middle of it, because you kind of got like 3 parts. You got the jumping off of it, going to do whatever you have to do. You got that middle portion of it, and then you also got the ending. But within that middle portion of it, you have the fact that you need to focus on breathing, focus on, you know, a lot of the things so you can remain as calm as possible. But the other step, and I want you to tell me if you had any experience with this, Didier, but the other step when it comes to pushing through your anxiety is once you actually, it's kind of like a barrier, right? Once you actually cross that barrier, it's like the dopest piece ever, right? It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like if you've been scared, to fight this bully, and then you fight this bully, and then you beat the bully up. And then after the fight, you're like, yo, I did woo, you the happiest thing in the world. You know, or if it's like you attempt to do something and you just go do it and then you realize, yo, it really ain't that bad. You know, you finally muster up the guts to go talk to this chick. You go talk to her and you realize she actually like you. Now you just like, yo, I was tripping. You know, so when it comes to you, you know, how anxiety relates to you, man, have you ever been in a position to where like you've crossed that barrier, right? You've put yourself in a position where you've had to go do something, and then this feeling on the other side was kind of dope.
Yeah, I actually a lot. I didn't mention it. I was thinking about it while you was talking. I had that anxiety with jobs. I would apply, and they'll be like, "Hey, man, we would like to meet you." I'll be like, "All right," and then I was thinking like, "Man, what if they didn't really look at my resume, or what if they look at my record?" Or what if, you know what I mean? And then it'll be like nighttime, and the next day I got to go to the interview, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna go. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna get it.
You gonna psych yourself out?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get it. You know what I mean? Whatever. You know, then I'll wake up and like, man, I hop in the shower. You know, I'm thinking about it. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang. And I go, and then I get the job.
Yeah.
And now that you get the job, you're actually thinking about more of all those barriers you put along the way of your thinking.
Yeah.
And you're like, I really put some barriers right there. You know what I mean? And that can be very dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you might tell somebody else, like, yeah, man, I didn't think I was going to get it, you know, this and that. And then they start listening to you. Like, you're a very doubtful person about yourself. You know what I mean? You know, so if I wanted to invite you to a project or something like that, you're going to be like, well, you know, I don't think I'm the right person. I don't think you really choose me. This person, like, you know what I mean? People record what you say and then they, in a way, adjust to you. That's what I've experienced so far.
I mean, but that is true, right? And it's very, very big when it comes to jobs, right? It's very, very big when it comes to jobs, and especially if you're an individual who haven't had a job for a long time, or you got something on your record, or you know you're not that great at speaking, or you know you're not that good at interviews. So what you're going to do, you're going to psych yourself out, right? You're going to dig yourself down this hole, and it's important that we understand the difference between rational anxiety and irrational anxiety, right? Because as you were speaking, that's one of the things that kind of came up to mind, right? Rational anxiety and irrational anxiety. You know the difference between the two?
Enlighten me.
So irrational anxiety is like, I have this fear of flying, right? I have this fear of flying, right? Because I have this fear of flying, my palms are going to be sweating. I'm going to get all nervous and all this other stuff, but I'm still going to go fly. Irrational anxiety is like, I have this fear of flying, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to pack my bag super heavy, because if my bag is really, really heavy, then my bag is going to be heavy. That's going to cause the plane to be heavier. That could cause the plane to move slow. And if that causes the plane to move slow, then the plane is going to be late. And if the plane is late, that's going to cause whoever's picking me up, you know, to want to leave or not pick me up because I'm arriving late. And I don't want to be an inconvenience for that individual on the other end who's supposed to be picking me up, because they have all of these things going on. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just not going to fly. You see,
I've done that. Yeah.
You see that deep, that dark ass hole that we just kind of created. But the thing within that, in a lot of the situations, is we have to ask ourselves, does that shit even make sense? How have you actually kind of built yourself and created a hole for yourself when it came to anxiety?
I built a hole, like, you know, besides jobs, even shooting photos and videos, dude.
Yeah.
You know, I'll reach out to like certain people. I'm like, hey, you're trying to do this, or I would, you know, love to shoot with you and stuff like that. And they'll be like, yeah, you know, I'm interested, this and that. I'm like, cool. And then, you know, I go through their page and they're like, they have like fabulous like videos and photos, and I'm like, dang, can I keep up with that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What if we do that and they don't, you know, they look at me crazy, like you don't know what you're doing, and then they blacklist me, and now I can't, you know, reach out to other people that they know, you know what I mean? Because then they probably talked about me that, you know, I don't know how to do certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, I might have to move to another state. You know what I mean? Change my name.
Yeah, you're going to have to, but you just start to create this wild list of things that could possibly happen.
Right.
But we never really realize or even think about that, like, okay, I've thought about all of this shit before in the past. Has all of those negative what ifs actually happened? No,
most of them haven't.
Most of them don't, you know. And even with myself, like, and I still get very, very anxious when it comes to little stuff, like shit, asking people to come onto the show, post something as simple as posting something on Instagram, right? Solely because it's like I'm not the extrovert. I don't like to believe that I don't like to believe that I'm the extroverted person. So when it comes to putting stuff on Instagram, what I would do is I'll like, okay, so when I put this on Instagram, does this make sense? Does this picture look right? What's going to be in the caption? Does the caption make sense? I'm a huge grammar freak, right? So make sure I don't have any grammatical errors in my caption. Does this actually make shit? Does this align well with what I'm trying to do? Who's going to think about this? Is this going to touch someone? Is someone going to think negative of me? Is this going to get enough likes? Are people really going to rock with this? Does this actually make sense of what I'm saying or what I'm posting? This shit sounds stupid, right? I think about all of those things when it comes to something as crazy as, and as small as posting something on Instagram. But anxiety is real. Everyone deals with anxiety. But more so than anything, it's about when you put it out there, what's next, right? Because you just got to do it.
Right.
Just like with me posting stuff on Instagram. I just got to do it at the end of the day. Whatever comes from it, comes from it. And what I've realized is that all of those things that I thought about, it never came true. I never had anybody tell me like, "Oh, Willis, you post stupid stuff on Instagram." I never had anybody come up and tell me like, "Willis, you need to whatever," right?
Like I liked it because I felt bad for you. You didn't have enough likes.
Exactly. Like I never had any reckless stuff when it came to any of the stuff that I'm doing, and that's just what a lot of people in life, right? We come up with all of these what ifs to the negative side, right? We come up with all of these what ifs to the negative side, and 9.5 times out of 10, those negative to the negative side are never going to come true.
Right.
But we never think about the what if to the positive sides. And those things sometimes come true more often than the negative. We never say like, well, what if I do get this job?
Right.
What if people do really rock with me? What if people really do like the show or whatever the case may be? What if? We always say, what if this negative thing happened?
If this were to happen, what would be my next step after this?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because as I was falling through the air when I jumped off that plane, as I was approaching it, as you know the plane was flying up, I never once ever thought like, yo, what if I die? I never thought about that. Everybody else would have been like, yo, I'm gonna die. I never thought about what if I die.
Tell my mama I love her.
Right. Never popped up in my head.
Right.
Why does that never pop up in my head? Because I'm mindful of what I'm focusing on, which is that breath. And then my man Keith right here, shouts out to Keith, man. He put it's a thin line between excitement and anxiety. There's a very thin line between excitement and anxiety, and that barrier that you cross. You're on the anxiety side, but once you cross that line, you're gonna hit that excitement side. And I know for me, and I really felt it as soon as I hit that ground.
Once you open your eyes, you're like, I'm flying.
Once I open my eyes, but more so than anything, once I actually hit the ground. Right. It was a side of me that was like, oh shit, dirt. I like this. Yeah, I'm stable.
Right?
Like, but on the other end, it was just like, yo, that was really dope. You know, I really, in that right there, just kind of opened up the floodgates for a lot of other things that we speak about, which is why like anxiety is so debilitating. Anxiety could cause so many people to just dig themselves within this hole, but we never questioned it. We never asked. It's kind of just like that self-care piece in what I was speaking about earlier. We never challenged it, right? So for you, Didier, give me an example of, what's something you feel as if you're very, very anxious about right now, today?
Funny thing is, I've been trying to transition into video. I was anxious. I was like, man, I want to do video too, not just photos, you know what I mean? This and that. But I'm like, you know what? What if I don't know how to do these photos? I mean, just videos, you know what I mean? Yeah. What if this and this and that? The crazy part is, in a way, filming with you kind of like relieved me a little bit. You know what I mean? Shooting for you kind of relieved me. Like, okay, I do got some video. I do know some stuff about like, how to modify the camera and whatnot. Yeah. So I'm kind of like easing off. I'm like, okay, now I can look at research and stuff like that. Try to like make it like look better and stuff like that. But other than that, I wasn't gonna touch it at all. I thought about it
because you thought you didn't know how to do it, right?
I thought I didn't know how to do it.
You know, it's the one thing you forgot though. The one thing you forgot is there was a time where you didn't know how to take pictures.
Put me on blast.
But that's with everything, right?
No, you're right.
Whenever we're trying to start some new endeavor, we always tell ourselves like, damn, I don't know if I know how to do that right. But we forget there was a time in which we didn't know how to walk. There was a time in which we didn't know how to speak. There was a time in which, Didier, you didn't know how to take pictures, right? You didn't know anything about shutter speed. You didn't know anything about aperture. You didn't
now
know
it's a science, dude. Now there's like, one stop a light. I'm like, what?
Exactly.
Back then I was just shooting just to shoot. Just like click, click, click. Now it's like there's a science to it. You know what I mean? Ambient light, there's flash, there's light bouncing off the wall.
There's so many things that go into it.
And I get it now. It's so easy, you know what I mean?
Those things aren't that scary.
Not no more. Yeah, I was, man. I even thought, I'm like, you do it like, I'm not nowhere near where they are.
Yeah.
At all.
We start to compare ourselves to what other people are, like other photographers. Even with myself, I was having a conversation with y'all earlier in the show, in the studio. Shouts out to the administrative team over here at Good News, man. They over kind of redecorate the studio a little bit. They put up a chart, and it says our shows and the stars and where we're at in terms of listeners, I believe, if that's right. Where we're at in terms of listeners. And I was telling Didier, my girl, is just kind of like, I don't pay attention to those numbers. You know, I always tell Keith, like, yo, don't tell me anytime he calls me, like, yo, I'm finna update you. I'm like, Keith, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Right.
Because I have to understand, I have to understand when I'm in competition with myself, right? So if I sit there and I'm looking at this, I'm like, yo, okay, so Ladies Night is the #1 show because they got all these numbers, so I need to catch up with Ladies Night, man. Shout out to them for blowing up the scene, man. Shouts out to you, Jackie, man. I remember Keith was having so many conversations with me about you in the past, Jackie, about your anxiety when it came to actually doing the show, right? About your anxiety when it came to actually doing the show. Can you hold the show? Can you hold it on your own? And can you do all these other things? Shit, her show averaged like 100 comments a night. I'd be looking at her shit like, yo, she's really doing the damn.
Right.
You know, her show, and she's like one of the newest. Me, Ask Zeno on Wednesdays and Ladies Night, one of the newest shows, and Jackie's really out here doing the damn thing, right? And that goes into anxiety about how we just have to do whatever we're anxious about, just go do it. Because those negative thoughts that we're thinking about in our head, one, those probably aren't our negative thoughts, and two, are they even going to come true?
I feel like sometimes the fear of looking dumb or, you know, stupid or whatever like that, of trying something new, is what keeps us from trying anything. Like, if we get it, if we try it the first time, we want to get it right the first time.
We don't get. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. But we don't give ourselves the time to actually fuck up.
Yeah. Because we're told, you know what I mean? Like, we highlight the mess ups or whatever, the fuck ups, you know, so big. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you walked into like a room and you saw, you know, a peanut or something on the floor, you'll notice it. It's the only imperfection on the floor. You know what I mean?
But the whole spotless.
The floor could have been spotless. Someone could have just like shampooed the whole carpet, and then you find that peanut and you're like, man, why is the peanut on the floor? You know what I mean? That just shows what you're looking for in an environment.
Because we're always looking for that way out, right? We're always looking for this way out. And when we find that way out, we like go attack it.
Right.
Because we never really want to do it in the first place.
Because I'm the type of person, I'll walk into the room and be like, man, this floor looks nice, and I'll pick up the peanut and throw it away, and that's about it. Don't make it into a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like that. So sometimes when like we try new stuff or whatever like that, and then we mess up, or like someone, you know, I take a picture and someone says, oh, you know, you could have taken this off, you know, the hair from her eyes or whatever like that. I'm like, okay, what do you think about the rest? It looks cool. That's what we don't want to hear. So that, you know, that'll stop me from taking even more pictures with this certain person or trying it again because that.
Why do you think it's hard for some people to acknowledge the good things and certain stuff?
Because, and don't quote me on this, but like I feel like they have something going on with them, like, and they have to point out our flaws. You know what I mean? Because they have so many flaws and they're so flaw savvy. So they'll find a flaw in your stuff. You know what I mean?
So they're deflecting.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Don't quote you on this, but you're right.
Because if they were doing really good with themselves, they'll find the good in you.
It's funny how you like, don't quote me on this. Normally when people say don't quote me on this, they think that they're going to be wrong. But what you said was actually right. A lot of the times when we always find any imperfections, we nitpick at certain shit, is because within ourselves, we're not right.
Right.
Within ourselves, we're not right. So it's exactly what you're talking about, right? We need to figure out what's bad with you because I know something is bad with me, so I need to deflect my bullshit and acknowledge your bullshit.
Exactly. People will only show you what they know about themselves onto you. So if they know, like, you know, like you're doing certain things right, like working on yourself. If they're working on themselves, they'll know when you're working on yourself. Because in a way, like respectfully, they'll hear a little bit less from you. They'll know you're working. They'll see what you're doing about. They'll be like, this person is working on themselves.
And honestly, they won't care.
No, not at all.
Like if people are genuinely working on themselves, working at themselves, they don't care about what the next person got going on. What the next person got going on has nothing to do with me because I am my number one priority. And then, you know, we don't do that, right? We always compare ourselves. That's a big thing when it comes to anxiety, right? I compare myself to the next person, right? Social media blew this shit out the water.
Man.
Social media blew this shit out the water, right? Because social media gives off this sense of perfection, right?
We only put our highlight reels on there.
We only put our highlight reels, which is why it's like on certain Instagram pictures, I'd be like, okay, does this look right? Which is why even certain times, like, no, which is why part of the reason why I don't like taking pictures. Am I going to look right in this picture? I don't want to look like I don't want to look out. I don't want to look like a fool. You know, it's this whole aspect of being perfect. And social media, Instagram, done blew that shit out of the water. Because now it's like, yo, everybody has to be perfect.
Imagine waking up and the first thing you see is someone had fun last night and you did it in a way, you know what I mean? Whatever fun means. And you're like, damn, like, you know, I wasn't invited.
Yep.
I wasn't doing what they were doing.
Yep.
I must be doing something wrong.
Something's wrong with me because
Exactly.
they ain't let me out.
Mm-hmm.
Something wrong with me because they didn't invite me. You know, am I good enough to even go out?
Exactly.
I live a boring life because I'm staying inside of my place. I stay. That's how my Fridays nights is. I sleep on my
Getting your
bed.
money's worth.
I live a boring life, right? So we create. What we do is we create this sense of perfection, and we constantly try to chase that. That was perfect, right? We constantly try to chase that perfection. But then that 1 second to where we put something out there where we think is perfect, and then somebody chastises me, right? Somebody makes fun of it. It's like somebody done shot me in the head. And I'm never gonna do this ever
This is why
again.
I don't do this stuff. This is why I don't do social media, because someone's gonna find something. I feel it.
Yeah. It's the truth, right? It's 100% the truth, especially when it comes to anxiety, right? So when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to certain things that we have to understand, when it comes to getting through anxiety or getting over your anxiety, the first thing we got to understand is just push through it. Push through it, right? I've mentioned that I just skydived Friday. I had to just push through that. When I do this radio show, like, I have to just push through this, right? Even though I be extremely nervous sometimes doing this. When I be running groups at work, I have to just push through that, right? Even in certain situations, right? Even as a kid, well, like growing up, I had to realize a few things that I had to push through a lot of the situations that went on in my life, you know? And if I didn't push through a lot of those situations that went on in my life, it would have never worked out. It would have never worked out at all. So I always have to be mindful of the fact that, one, you can push through it, right? You can be able to go take care of what I need to take care of, right?
Right.
Regardless of what the situation may be, regardless of what it is. So when it comes to you, right, give me an example of how you've been able to push through your situation.
It took me, it did take me a while, you know what I mean? But I started learning breathing exercises. That's one of them. And also I started learning to live in the present, what's going on right now, you know what I mean? And I've been reading a whole bunch of books, and the power of now, you know what I mean? And those have really, really helped me.
It helped you a lot?
A lot, bro. Like a lot. Like,
what's the power of now? What is that about?
Well, living, the power, like,
focusing on today.
Focusing on today. What's in front of you, you know what I mean? Because, I used to drive buses and stuff like that, and a lot of the bus drivers that I worked around, they always talk about their problems or whatever like that. And the thing is, they take that onto the bus, you know what I mean? So when they're driving with emotion, you know what I mean? So I always told, some bus drivers, like, hey, don't drive with emotion, because if you're driving depressed, you're going to miss a stop, or you're going to miss somebody, or you're going to hit something. If you're driving overly happy...
I want to make sure bus hit my car.
If you're driving out of excitement, you're gonna think that thing is your car.
Yeah.
And you're gonna start, cutting through things and stuff like that. What's going on right now? You know what I mean? You got to just live on what's going on right now, because that's how a lot of stuff happens, out of emotion, anxiety, while you're doing something. You mess up at work. You didn't really care about that stuff on the ground. You're like, whatever. I'm about to go home anyways. I got to go deal with my girl or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And then they call you, they're like, hey, that little stuff you didn't pick up, someone slipped over it, and now they put an accident report on you.
Yep. I always say this: depression is about focusing on the past. Anxiety is about focusing on the future. And what we have to make sure that we do is that we focus on now. Exactly what that title of the book says: the power of now.
Exactly.
Right? Because if we're not present, if we're not today, there's going to be so many things that can go on. Period. Right? Because we're not going to be focused on what we need to take care of. We're not going to be mindful. We're not fully going to be there. We're just not going to be present, right? And it's hard to, you can't focus. You can't sit here and do work if I'm thinking about, what my girl is doing at my other job, what my girl's doing at work, or if I'm worried about what happened last week, or if I'm worried about what may happen if I get these notes wrong, right? Because me as a therapist, sometimes I really think to myself, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I really do. Sometimes I be asking some of my patients sometimes, like, yo, does that actually make sense? Like, is what I just said to y'all, does that actually make sense? And they really be like, yeah, that shit was dope, and blah, 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 whoa, whoa, whoa. But I just be in my head like, damn, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, I know, right?
Because we don't have that much faith in ourselves. We think we are worthless. We think we can't really do much. You know, we think that, you know, we're just here. We're just here, you know, and what we're doing, it's not really important.
Right.
But the fact is, whatever you're signed up for, I'm going to take care of it.
You know, when people tell me like they have like, oh, I'm going through a mini depression, I got a little bit of anxiety. I don't really like tell them like, oh, get out your feelings, you know what I mean? Don't, just push. I do say push through it, obviously, but like, I don't give them the little motivational talk or whatever. Yeah. I kind of more tell them like, you're going through an experience right now, you know what I mean? And, you got to feel what you got to feel. Don't just push it to the side and go hit a bottle or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just feel what you got to feel. Just don't stay there that long.
Nah, that's that's real good advice, because when it comes to depression, what happens is a lot of folks run away from it. Right? Run away. When it comes to anxiety, we try to run away from it. Feel what you feel. Like, yeah, you're going through what you're going through at that moment. We get so caught up in what's going on within the moment that we forget that, like, yo, it's just the moment. This ain't something that's gonna be going on forever and ever and ever. So when it comes to individuals who be going through the depression or going through the anxiety, certain things going on in their life to where they're feeling like, yo, I'm not really capable of getting things done right now. It's exactly what you said, Didier. Let me feel these feelings. Let me understand where these feelings are coming from. Let me understand why these feelings are here. Because if we don't, then...
Yeah, right, because they'll just find something to, relieve the moment, and they'll go back to it, in a couple weeks, couple years, whatever like that, redo the whole thing.
Because just like we can use drugs for our depression, we could also use drugs for our anxiety. Right?
Right.
We could also use drugs to help calm us down. Right? Alcohol is a depressant. Depressant? What's it?
Yeah.
Depressant?
No, I used to.
I think that's the right word. I don't know.
Not
but
really.
alcohol will mellow you out, right? Alcohol is a depressant and it will mellow you out. So if you are having anxiety stuff, you may sometimes, let me take a shot or two of this.
I used to be a habitual smoker. Like anything small, I consider small now. You know what I mean? Back then, anything like small was big to me, and I'll hit the cigarette. I go out there like, man, I can't believe someone dinged my car.
You still smoke today?
Nah, man, I quit, bro.
You quit?
Man, I'm so happy. I quit smoking and I quit drinking soda, bro.
You quit smoking and you can drink soda?
Not last year, yeah. I stopped, dude. It wasn't helping me. And I knew it, I knew it wasn't helping me. I was just like, one day instead of day one. You know what I mean?
You got to start somewhere, right? We got to start somewhere, even if that somewhere is whatever.
And now when something that requires like my energy, like anxiety or whatever like that, instead of like cigarette, which I don't smoke, I breathe now. I'll be like, okay, this happened, now what?
Let me calm myself down.
Right.
We don't want to take those few seconds to just sit back and just calm ourselves down, sit back and have a conversation with ourselves, sit back and just be like, okay, let me stop. Right? Because I can remember as I'm falling out of the sky, as I'm falling, right, I can remember, right, there was a specific time in which I was like, I felt like I was about to have an anxiety attack. Because it was like I was focusing on my breath, but I wasn't getting, I guess, the correct amount of breath, correct amount of air that I thought I should. So like my stomach and my chest would start to get tight. So I'm like, oh shit. But then I literally had to tell myself, Willis, stop.
You been on roller coasters?
Yeah, I love them.
No, the first time, were you like that as well? Like you didn't open your eyes? You wasn't really breathing?
Bro, I don't know.
I was. I closed my eyes. I wasn't breathing. I was holding my, my breath, whatever like that, because I didn't want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I did that for like almost a year, bro. And then finally I went to like Ghost Rider. I'm like, I gotta open my days, I gotta open my eyes. I gotta see what's going on. And open my eyes. And next thing you know, I was breathing normally. Next thing you know, I was throwing my hands up in the air, like letting go of the bar.
Because what it is, it's like when we're anxious, we're not really anxious about the problem. It's more so our thoughts of the problem are causing us to be anxious. So with the fact that, your eyes are closed, right, and now you can't breathe, it's like you're not even focusing on your breath. What you're doing is you're focusing on not trying to see what's going on. I need to make sure I stay away from it. I don't want to see this. Like, nah, take it for what it is, and do things one at a time. We can't really multitask, right? We can't really multitask. So in some instances, it's also in some instances, it's very, very bad for us to try to multitask. Right. So when we're having these anxiety attacks, and when we're trying to push through the anxiety, focus on one thing.
You're breathing.
That breathing. How are you going to breathe? Pay attention to it. You know, how shallow is it? How deep is it? How fast is it? You know, take them deep breaths. You know, because I guarantee you the second you take that deep breath, it'll be that same second everything starts going down. Right. So for those individuals who have anxiety attacks, an easy and quick little tip to be able to get through that anxiety attack or get through that panic attack, what you need to do is focus on one spot in the room, right? Focus on that one spot in the room. So if I'm focusing on this camera right here, I'm looking at the camera, right? And I'm just going to breathe. Just breathe. Don't look at nothing else. Don't look at what's going on to the left. Don't look at what's going on to the right. Don't think about nothing else. Just focus on breathing, right? So when we do have these anxiety attacks and these panic attacks, focus on that, the breathing. I'm telling you, it sounds so cliche, but things are cliche for a reason.
We only complicate it because, like, what's breathing gonna do? I'm breathing right now.
Shit, you'll be dead if you weren't breathing.
Right. But it's like the deeper me, like breathe, like, you know, like really breathe. Don't breathe just to, like, you know, get some air that's free. Breathe for yourself.
But also, what we don't want to do is we don't want to accept the simple things.
Oh,
we purposely look for things to be complicated because that's an out. That's a way for us to get out. See, when something is too simple, we'll dismiss it. We're like, nah, it ain't that real. It ain't that easy.
Everything I've been through, you're gonna tell me the answer is just breathing?
The answer is just breathing, and then we start to think to ourselves, like, if the answer is just to breathe, and I haven't been doing this, then maybe I'm just not worth it. Maybe I'm just worthless, right? So we need to find that out. We need to find that exit route. When in reality, sometimes a lot of things in life is just simple.
Right.
Simple.
Good.
No major thing at all, man. So, how do you feeling, Didier?
Less nervous. I was nervous, but I was eating all your Sour Patches.
Yeah, I don't have any more Sour Patches. Yeah, all my candy, man. But, man, shoot, man, moving on to, man, before you even move on to the question I have for you all, man, one of the things I thoroughly want to make sure everyone understands is that when it comes to breathing, when it comes to anxiety, one of the things we have to make sure we understand, obviously, we just need to breathe, right? Obviously, just breathe. Focus on that. Just tell yourself, breathe, Willis. Breathe. 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 Focus on that, right? Because anything else, anything that you need to assist with it, it will come after that. But just focus on the breathing. The other part is when it comes to anxiety and it comes to approaching that anxiety, one of the things you need to understand is, as I said earlier, you can figure out all sorts of ways to kind of go around it, kind of avoid it, kind of dismiss it. But just like trauma, anxiety, you're going to have to go do it, right? Go do that one thing that you're anxious about. And then we're going to realize when we're doing that one thing that we're anxious about, all of those what ifs to the negative side that we thought of, they don't even come true, right? They never, ever, ever really, really come true, right? Never really, really come true. So when it comes to anxiety, man, we all have it. And then also ask yourself, does that anxiety actually make sense? Does that anxiety actually make sense? Because 9 times out of 10, that anxiety is just an irrational anxiety. It makes no complete sense. And if you're one of those individuals who constantly think about irrational things, my major suggestion to really let yourself know and to really understand that your anxious thoughts are really kind of irrelevant, irrational, really, really irrational, get a worry journal, right? Create a worry journal. Whenever you're worrying about something, write down exactly what you're worrying about. Write down exactly what you're worrying about. And then look at that worry journal at the end of the week. Look at that worry journal at the end of the week when that thought is gone. So you're going to look at it like, yo, I was worried about getting a job and I was thinking about all of this stuff. Man, I was tripping. I was tripping. So what that's going to do is that's going to help you be a little bit more mindful of your irrational thoughts. Be a little bit more mindful and cognizant of the fact that, you know, your irrational thoughts don't really make any sense, you know, because if you're not really paying attention to that, then, hey, good luck. So, moving on to the question that I have for you all, man. Like I always say, I always like to leave everyone off with a question. My one question is this, right? Whenever we're thinking about all of those anxious thoughts, whenever we have, get your words right, Willis. Whenever we are anxious, right? Whenever we are anxious and we think about those what ifs, how many times have those what ifs actually came true? Right? How many times have those what ifs actually came true? Because I know for me, 9 times out of 10, those what ifs, they're not really coming true. So I start to ask myself, why am I thinking about this when that's not going to happen? Okay, if it does happen, then it happens. But that's what anxiety is, right? This won't happen, but what if it does? But it won't happen, but what if it does? But it won't happen, but what if it does? We need to think about what if the positive stuff happened. We never take a second and to think about all of those positive things that could possibly happen, right? Because everybody's anxious. We all get anxious at some point in time within our life, and that anxiety is okay. That anxiety is okay. That anxiety is actually normal. You're supposed to be anxious when this is your first time on a roller coaster. You're supposed to be anxious when you're approaching a job interview. You're supposed to be anxious when you're jumping out of a plane. You're supposed to be anxious when you're doing anything, right? But when it comes to the anxiety, what really you need to ask yourself is, one, are those what ifs that I'm thinking about, do they actually make sense? Are they actually going to come true? When have they ever came true? Because what you're understanding is, as Keith stated, man, there's a thin line between excitement and anxiety. And once you pass that threshold, and you overcome that anxiety, you're going to hit that ground just as I did when I skydived, and be like, what the fuck? This was the best thing ever. I'm really glad I didn't allow that one thing to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. Anxiety stops us from accomplishing our goals. Anxiety stops us from marrying that one woman. Anxiety stops us from doing the positive things that we need to do. Anxiety is going to keep us doing these negative things. Anxiety is going to keep us in the bed. Anxiety is going to keep us from applying to these jobs. Anxiety is going to keep us from doing all of these things. Shit, if I would have let anxiety win, I would not be here on this show talking to you all right now. So when it comes to anxiety, don't let that shit win. Just like when it comes to your negative thoughts, don't let that shit win. Don't let any of that shit win. And understand you have full control over whatever it is going on in your life. You have control over that anxiety. The only way you're going to be able to control that is to go through it, not around it, not throwing it up in the air. Run that bitch over. Run that bitch over, man. Run that bitch over. As always, thank you. Thank you to everyone tuning in, man. Thank you to those individuals who will be tuning in later on. And thank you to those individuals who ain't going to tune in at all because you haven't caught on to it yet. But you will catch on to it eventually. As always, man, my name is Willis Cooks. Ain't no wealth without your mental health. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.